Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. I'm your host, Jon Jeune. And of course, got to have my guy, Greg Pennamon, here with me. Greg, how we doing, man?
Doing well. Saw these couple really good games this weekend. Glad we got a lot of meaningful football going into week 18 for playoffs and everything. Got to see some good college yesterday too. So yeah, definitely good way to close out the season so far.
Yeah, I would argue it was an okay way to close out the season, only selfishly because I was in 3 championships and I only won 1 championship. So naturally, I'm not thinking about the one that I won. I'm thinking about the 2 that I lost.
Right.
And both of them were like finished relatively close. One of them actually wasn't close at all. I kind of got blown out, and then like my team showed up too, which is kind of the wild part. Put up a pretty good score, but the other opponent just put up a much better score. There was not much I could do about that. Although Jaden Reed did feel like he was giving me a chance, keep me in it. In both leagues, the other one I ended up losing a close battle in our dynasty league, which is a full IDP, as you know, Greg, and the scores in that one end up being like in the 400s, could end up being in the 400s. Like 400 is a really high, really good score. And I scored 404.9 and I lost by exactly 15 points. So there's that.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, you guys were the 2 best teams. There you go. You lost to the actual champion. No, nothing fishy, nothing, no luck, I guess. Just wasn't better than that day.
Nope. And I'll forever hate Arthur Smith, and I might be shopping off some Pile Kits shares after this week, after this year. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But let's break down the week that was week 17, which for most people is championship week. And don't fret, most of you out there, or some of you out there who play in week 18 championship, we will still get you covered. We'll still have a show later this week, one show on Thursday, breaking down all the action ahead of week 18 to help prepare you for your week 18 championships. Unfortunately, we are not live today. We will be a pre-recorded show, and so no questions. We won't be able to take questions during the show, but obviously we will, still be posting this to YouTube and Twitter and Twitch. So without further ado, let's get on to the quarterbacks, Greg. And the number 1 quarterback on the week, Lamar Jackson, 18 of 21, 321 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 6 rush attempts for 35 rushing yards, 36.3 fantasy points on the day. And of course, this performance, me, Greg, love me some Lamar Jackson.
Yes, sir.
One of my favorites, one of our favorites. And each one of those touchdown passes was like a dagger into my heart because I was going up against him in both leagues that I lost this week. The manager had Lamar Jackson going. So it was rough for sure. Because I'm happy to see him get this success. I'm happy to see him potentially win MVP here. But my fantasy teams were hurting. Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, this just last week's performance I think resolved the MVP discussion. This just capped it, I think, and sealed it for sure. The man had more touchdowns and incompletions. So just a great day for Lamar. Way to cap off the season for sure for him. Sheldon didn't I don't think he even played most of the fourth quarter. Maybe he did a little bit, but yeah, he did all this pretty much in 3.5 quarters. So Lamar Jackson just doing what he does.
Yeah, man, and I kind of said this when the playoffs started. I think around week 15 when he had another great, he had this was week 14. He had a great week that week, finished as, I think, the number one quarterback. And I said, kind of a snarky comment like, Lamar Jackson going to lead you to a championship if he got you to the playoffs, because there was a stretch of this season, I'm speaking as a Lamar Jackson manager, where like we weren't getting these performances. Like we weren't even getting close to like these performances. What a season it's been for Jordan Love, up and down. But started hot, had a lull in the early, middle, beginning of the season, and came out hot again. 24 of 33, 256 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Also added 2 rushing yards for an additional touchdown. 28.4 fantasy points there. Greg, did you know that Jordan Love continues the legacy of Green Bay Packers quarterbacks having single seasons that would be Bears franchise records?
Crazy. That's crazy. I mean, to cap it off, they play the Bears next week. Basically a win to get in. Seems like, it's inevitable they will get that one again and continuing to own the Bears in general.
Yeah, I mean, heard Aaron Rodgers transferred ownership of the Bears to Jordan Love. So,
he did.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just the year that Jordan Love had, like, I mean, I know we're not there yet in terms of our end of season recap, but like maybe just a brief, acknowledgement, or how do you feel about Jordan Love, and you think this is something that he can repeat going into next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is definitely a believer in Jordan Love coming into the season. Had a good start, maybe hit like a first season wall or something like that, but he's able to finish strong, and I think that's the most important part. Finishing the season strong. A lot of the matchups, like second half of the season, he came through and didn't turn the ball over, hasn't turned the ball over, and getting into his guys, even with a lot of injuries to, I guess, that wideout corp too.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Did lose a ton of, was playing with a lot of guys in and out of the lineup, specifically Christian Watson, Jaden Reed also.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones as well, right? But he's still had a 30 touchdown season, just 11 interceptions on the year. On the season, touchdown percentage of
Still got to be kind of up there.
5.5%. He did start out hot at the beginning of the year, right? Like it was like 11 and 12% his first 2 weeks. And then we hit a lull, but finished the season from basically the second week of November through to the end of December, had one game with a touchdown rate of less than 5%. So basically has been that guy all year. 5.5% touchdown rate, 2% interception rate. That's like a really good, like, not a very good season, but it's like a relatively good season. And then when you consider, he's got to have at least added like an additional 4 touchdowns on the ground, right? Like that's pretty good from a fantasy perspective. Moving on to the QB3 on the week, that would be Justin Fields, 20 of 32, 268 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, also added 45 rushing yards, and an additional touchdown on the ground, 25.2 fantasy points there. Greg, what'd you make of the performance here by Justin Fields?
Yeah, Justin Fields also, again, after his injury coming back, he's definitely finishing the season strong. This team as a whole has been playing much better as well. So definitely like to see that. Definitely like to see them, doing well, winning games for the Bears. So hopefully that, the Bears decide they don't want to take a quarterback with either their picks, and they leave some for the Giants possibly,
Again, with this wishful thinking on the Giants getting a quarterback, I don't know how you could believe that, Greg, but I'll let you keep having hope here. No, but in all seriousness, Justin Fields, man, it was great. Hopefully, we get a resolution to this sooner rather than later, and this doesn't drag out, right? Like, it's clear that they have the number 1 pick. I would like to think that by the combine, we would have an idea of which teams fancy which quarterbacks and which teams are going to move up. And hopefully by free agency, Justin Fields can get traded so that we can, basically see this play out from a fantasy perspective, specifically a dynasty perspective, right? I think people are holding on to Justin Fields, kind of hoping the Bears don't take a quarterback, or that they can, maybe Fields ends up in Atlanta, right? So like things like that, right? So one of the things I think we'll definitely be watching this offseason. But rounding out these top 12 quarterbacks, number 4, my quarterback start of the week, Kyler Murray. Number 5, the man I
Oh,
doubted,
Flacco. Yes, sir.
Joe Flacco. The quarterback 6 would be Josh Allen. 7, Jake Browning. 8, Dak Prescott. Also tied for 8, Aiden O'Connell. At 10, we got Jalen Hurts. At 11, we've got our co-stream of the week, Tyrod Taylor. And at 12, your quarterback start of the week, Greg, in Brock Purdy. So any of these performances that stuck out to you, Greg, in a positive way?
Yeah, Tyrod, Brock Purdy, definitely good to see them in here as well. Joe Flacco, definitely, I saw a QB 1 week, but this is still top 5 for him and all in the first
Against the
quarter. It seemed like,
Jets.
yeah, it seemed like right away too, out the gates, like it was crazy. So definitely good to see there. I just wish this man was around all year. For David Njoku, more importantly, this man has really unleashed him to new heights of like tight end like level, like it's crazy.
Yeah, man, definitely agree with you there. Josh Allen has tied a quarterback record for most rushing touchdowns in a single season. I mean, look, they are following the Eagles model, man. Every time they get down there, like the 1-2 yard line, like you kind of know what's coming, and
Yes,
teams
sir.
can't stop it.
Nope. Nope.
So yeah, he's got franchise or tied an NFL record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. I think he gets to 16 next week.
Yeah, well, they need to win. That's a game that's important for them to the division title possibly. So yeah, he'll get another one, I think.
Yeah, most definitely. Kyler Murray, my quarterback star of the week, came through in a big way against Philly, who, again, super flex league. I was playing in one of those dynasty leagues. My opponent had Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. Not much I
Mm,
could do about that.
mm.
Um, um, yeah, Geno Smith, solid day. Derek Carr didn't completely face plant.
No, I mean he's last couple of weeks he's been like winning probably people weeks if they've actually gone and started him, but he's been
Yeah,
good.
last week he definitely won you a week. This week I don't know if he won you a week unless you were playing against like Patrick Mahomes. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, let's move on to those Jags there, Greg. And
Yeah.
Mahomes definitely on that list, finishes the quarterback 24, 12 fantasy points. Not great performance, and not one that inspires a ton of confidence as we head into next year. Like, what would you think? What would have to happen for this Chiefs offense for you to invest in Patrick Mahomes as like the high quarterback that he's been drafted as these last couple years?
Yeah, well, definitely, another receiver piece. I would hope they kind of address it. Maybe they, you know, take a hit somewhere else as far as money wise. They pay Chris Jones well for 1 year, so they'll probably have to end up trying to extend him again. But yeah, they gotta definitely address it and see that these guys they pick in the second and third round for wide receivers just have not been cutting it.
No, definitely have not. Yeah, I'm curious to see how the Chiefs address this, because I mean, maybe it sounds like a hot take, maybe it doesn't, right? Like Patrick Mahomes is about to play his first road playoff game of his career, like in a couple weeks, right? Like I I maybe I could get flamed for this. This could be like freezing cold takes, but like I don't see them making it past like the divisional round.
All right, well, yeah, the division round, so they won't be in the AFC Championship. That's like okay. I think it's not too hot. Hot. It's warm. They've been in five straight AFC championships, so um, they all been in Arrowhead. So yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to. But it is still open. It's wide open after Baltimore, and we still haven't seen Baltimore win like a playoff game in the Lamar era, correct?
No, they won a playoff game.
They won one.
Yeah, they won
but they
one.
haven't got past the division round as well.
They have not gotten past the divisional round. But this time, they're going straight to the divisional round.
That's nice. That is good.
That is
That's
nice. So we'll see. Tua Tagovailoa also did not have a great game playing against that Baltimore Ravens defense. Matthew Stafford, I mean, pretty tough to overcome 3 Kyron Williams rushing touchdowns. So definitely not the performance that we expected to see out of Matthew Stafford. And then CJ Stroud had, basically a cake matchup here against the Tennessee Titans and kind of face planted a little bit here in his first week back from a concussion. I mean, they did win 26-3, so could argue that they didn't actually need to be as aggressive here with such a massive lead. But anybody else that you could highlight that by letting kind of let people down this week, Greg?
No, not too much. I think the people that are on the rosters came through. Popular streams prior with Tyrod, he came through, so that was good.
And moving on to the running back position, the number 1 running back on the week, the aforementioned Kyron Williams, 20 carries, 87 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, also added 2 receptions on 2 targets for 14 receiving yards, 30.1 PPR points on the day. Greg, what did you make of this performance here by Kyron Williams, aka waiver wire winner, league winner of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. Kyron Williams coming through, big time finishing the season, amazing as he's done all year. When he's played, he's CMC and him. That's it. Like that's really what it comes down to this year. What he's done points per game basis, and yeah, he's if they running back next year with Stafford and all these guys, I see no reason why he's not a first round pick.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here because everything you hear out of Sean McVay's mouth and the Rams is how much they love this guy, how important he is to their offense. And he's rushed for 1,000 yards last week, and that was after missing
a lot of time. I feel like
he missed like 3 games at least.
Yeah, 4 games this year. Yeah.
Yeah, he's only played 12 games all year, and he's got 1,100 rushing yards and 12 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, he's been really good all season, and curious to see what the Rams do, right? Because he is a smaller back, 5'9", like 199 pounds, like barely 200 pounds. So you wonder, will his body be able to sustain, so many touches over the course of a few years here. But in this offense, the way he's utilized, how trusted he is when they get to the goal line, like I don't see how next year we're not talking about him as at least like a top 30 pick in 12 team PPR leagues. Now if the Rams go out and draft a running back or they sign a running back, I think that would probably change how we view this, but I'm not going to forget what Kyron Williams did in 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for sure. I mean, yeah, definitely have seen running backs do very well. A la Todd Gurley, and then next season just like not be existent.
Yeah, I mean that was a little bit different, right? Todd Gurley was literally falling apart. But like we see all this with James Robinson, right? Like James Robinson comes out, rushes for 1,000 yards as a UDFA. Now his story probably a little bit different as well because he ends up, I think, was it the following year he tore his Achilles or did he?
Believe so. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So there was like the Travis, then they drafted Travis Etienne, and that's all it takes, right? Is the Rams to fall in love with a running back, draft him in the first round, and then basically top 2 rounds, and it basically like throws all this, throws a wrench into all this. So we'll definitely see a guy who probably is in a similar spot who we're not talking about as much to that level. And I'm curious to see what people think about him this offseason. But Isaiah Pacheco finishes the RB2, 18 carries, 130 rushing yards, 7 targets, so 7 receptions, 35 receiving yards, and a touchdown, 29.5 PPR points on the day. Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by Isaiah Pacheco?
Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco also coming through healthy in the last couple of weeks, and 1 week removed from that injury, and he definitely came through big time for this team. Running well against Cincinnati, in a solid matchup. He's also definitely another guy that had a solid season. With those opportunities, runs very hard. So definitely love what he did this year. Oh, you're mute.
Yeah, love to see what he was able to do. He was running like a madman. I mean, he always runs like a madman, but
Yeah.
he ran particularly like a madman. Like he was extra mad this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. 7th round pick. So again, he's in a similar situation, I think, to Kyron Williams, where and maybe it's a little bit different with Pacheco because he's a little bit bigger, so he prototypes more as a guy who could be a workhorse back and handle a lot of work. But all it takes is the Chiefs to add another weapon to their backfield, and then it kind of makes you wonder like what Pacheco's usage will look like. But definitely a guy who we'll have to pay attention to see what the team does around him heading into 2024. But I think right now the most the Chiefs can do is play for seeding. They've already clinched the division. They've already, clinched a playoff spot. So makes you wonder, and we'll obviously keep track of that as we get through week 18. But what his usage will be like, this week coming up in week 18, considering what the Chiefs are trying to get done. Moving on to the running back 3 on the week, that will be Breece Hall, 13 carries, 84 rushing yards, 9 targets for 9 receptions and 42 receiving yards, and a touchdown there. 27.6 PPR points on the day. Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by Breece Hall?
Yeah, absolutely. Money. I mean, if you if you got to that semifinals after that, rough first round matchup with Breece Hall, you definitely have a championship, especially with that semifinal and final week. And again, another great number as far as 9 receptions, 9 targets. That's a number we want to see definitely more next year, and got to see a lot during the end of the season. So that's definitely good.
Yeah, Breece Hall right now has 93 targets in the pass game on the season, 74 receptions, almost 580 receiving yards to go along with another 816 rushing yards in an Aaron Rodgers led offense where he's these because we weren't seeing these reception totals at the beginning of the year, right? Like,
No.
or even just it's just random how they use them sometimes, man. It really is. It goes from like 9 targets, 8 targets, 9 targets, 2 targets, 16, 9. Like it just doesn't make sense half the time. But in an Aaron Rodgers led offense where the Jets will have a very hard time finishing in the bottom 28 scoring offense in the league. I feel like we'll see more touchdowns here from Breece Hall, who had 6 total last year, 5 total last year, has 8 this year. So definitely feel like we'll see more from him next year. But rounding out this top 12 here, the running back 4 on the week, James Conner at 5, Jerome Ford at 6, Travis Etienne, 7, Najee Harris, 8, Devon Achane, 9, Justice Hill, 10, Khalil Herbert, 11, Jalen Warren, and coming in at 12, we've got Joe Mixon. Greg, any thoughts here on this running back, the running backs this week and how they did, and any guys you might want to shout out as an honorable mention?
Definitely shout out to Joe Mixon, my start of the week. So that he did well on that. Yeah. Najee Harris coming in here is always a good sign. Jerome Ford, I think bouncing back to finish the season strong was good to see for him as well, and James Conner. So definitely like those guys in here. Yeah. I don't mention. I'll say JT finished the season, I think, with a streak of like a touchdown in 4 or 5 straight games. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely a great number there. Zamir White, I mean, like again, if you just picked him up on a whim, few weeks ago, the start of the playoffs, like he's helped you to this point, right? Like, for sure. So love to see that. Elijah Mitchell, who I'm going to shout out because he finished as the running back 18, 17 carries, 80 rushing yards, and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important because CMC CMC will not play in week 18. So make sure you go scoop up Elijah Mitchell. Obviously, we'll talk about waivers in a second. Aaron Jones, good to see him healthy and running for 6 a carry. That's a great number there, 14 PPR points. And yeah, that's really it there. But in terms of some Jags there, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Ty
James
Chandler,
Cook, Tony Pollard,
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Alvin Kamara got hurt, but yeah, still tough.
Yeah, it was tough to see Kamara and CMC get hurt in like literally championship week.
Yeah,
especially if you're the CMC manager, because for a while you had like no visibility into what was going on, right? I don't know if you saw that game at all, but I was watching it and you would just see, and maybe this is somewhat problematic, but like I couldn't tell CMC wasn't on the field because Elijah Mitchell's so like light skinned. So like at one point I'm like, is that CMC? And then I'm like, they would shoot to CMC on the sideline or whatever. And I'm like, they're not talking about him not being in, but then at one point you see him getting some work. So, and then later on they announced, like Ian Rappaport announced it. Like it wasn't even announced on the broadcast. Ian Rappaport just tweets out like, I'm hearing CMC's dealing with like a calf strain. And then it's like, oh, it's a calf injury. But yeah, the Kamara one, it was tough because you kind of see it happen. And the way his ankle turned, and then you like a few seconds later or minutes later, you're seeing him walk off the field without a helmet. You're kind of just like, all right, yeah, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
So that was tough. But DeAndre Swift also let us down. Saquon Barkley let us down. Ezekiel Elliott let us down. The part about Austin Eckler that's tough is like just when you feel like you could trust him again after what he did in week 17, like it was just not great there. But anybody else that let us down this week, Greg?
No, I mean, yeah, I think I probably would have been more upset if Eckler went off when he didn't all season. He finished what he was the entire season, which was a bust.
Yeah, but that's the problematic part though, right? Because I said last week, or after last week, I said, well, you know what? It was new coach. Eckler looked the best he looked all year. They gave him touches, like none of that timeshare stuff. Like I'm going back, right? Like couldn't trust you. I'm just gonna go back to the well and like egg on my face. But anyway,
yeah.
Moving on to the number one wide receiver on the week, CeeDee Lamb, another player that I love a lot. Love him so much, he's on my wall. And another player that was shared by my two opponents in the league that I lost. So, yeah, 17 targets, 13 receptions, 227 receiving yards, 1 touchdown reception. Did add 5 rushing yards on 1 attempt and also lost a fumble, so could have been more points. 40.2 PPR points on the day. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, this is what he's been doing all season. I mean, seems like you would know the players that are on championship teams. So CeeDee Lamb seems to be one of them. Lamar as well. He really dominated all season. I mean, this is what was expected, I think, coming in. Especially they did get Brandon Cooks, but once we saw early couple weeks he wasn't involved. It was CeeDee Lamb show all year. Him getting 10 plus easy, 15 plus in some games, and close to 20 targets in some games. That's crazy.
Do you know how many receptions and receiving yards CeeDee Lamb has on the season?
Receptions got to be like 120, maybe.
122.
Okay. Yards, maybe like 1340.
1651.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man.
Is he leading now, or Tyreek is still?
Tyreek is still leading. Tyreek
17 or 18?
17 something.
Okay.
Tyreek is the only player in NFL history to have back-to-back 1,700 plus yard receiving seasons. So, yeah, right now it's Tyreek. Let me see. Trying to see if I could just look this up very quickly.
This will be an actual 16-game season for Tyreek too. So
yeah, you don't have to put an asterisk around that one.
Yeah.
Tyreek is first 17-17 and CeeDee Lamb's at 16-51, and both of them have to play in Week 18.
There we go.
So, would you guess who happens to be fourth?
Not third, but fourth. Fourth on that list.
Third is AJ Brown, who's
okay.
Who's
fourth in yards.
Correct.
Is it Amon-Ra?
He's fifth.
That's tough then. If I was really hoping it was Amon-Ra. Is Keenan Allen? Not Keenan Allen. Is it? Oh, I'm out. I don't know why.
Puka Nacua.
That's why. Insane, man. Insane, yo.
101 receptions, 1,445 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Oh,
Puka Nacua, fifth round pick.
Amazing.
Love it. The wide receiver 2 on the week. Oh, I recognize this guy. He was also on my opponent's team. Devontae Adams, 21 targets, 13 receptions, 126 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. 37.6 PPR points on the day. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by Devontae Adams?
Yeah, I wish he was on. He was on my team that lost in the semifinals, because all these guys that gone off in this final round did not do well in the semifinal week. 1.4 last week came out, blew up with this big time performance here. Glad he finished the season in a strong way. Hopefully, hey man, he needs to be on a contender. That's all I gotta say. Maybe he should call the Chiefs up or something.
Imagine if the Raiders trade the Devontae Adams to the Chiefs, like in division.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't happen, but I can dream.
Yeah, man. There's talks about him being in New York or New Jersey wearing green with a quarterback he used to wear green with, just a different shade. So we'll have to see what that looks like this offseason. I'm of the unpopular opinion that they should probably not do that, but that's for different reasons, and I won't divulge those here. But moving on to the wide receiver 3 on the week. Oh, would you look at that? Another guy who was on my opponent. He had the top 3 wide receivers of the week. How was I supposed to win?
No, you weren't. You weren't.
It wasn't. It was not in the design. DJ Moore, 13 targets, 9 receptions, 159 receiving yards, and a touchdown there. 30.9 PPR points on the day. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by DJ Moore?
Yeah, glad he also had a great, strong season after, last couple of weeks in the playoffs didn't really do so hot. Still getting targeted at a heavy rate all season. He was getting targeted, especially with Justin Fields in. I'm hoping that this, tandem could continue, because it seemed like it worked for a lot of majority of the season while Fields is in, and DJ Moore, they definitely connected in a good way.
I think at one point DJ Moore said that, no quarterback in college is going to come in and do what Justin Fields can do. He's kind of gone to bat for the Bears keeping Fields, and with performances like this, you could definitely see why. Rounding out these top 12 here, I really wish I had my applause button, but I don't. But the wide receiver 4 on the week, Greg's wide receiver start of the week, Jaden Reed. Wide receiver 5, Brandon Ayuk. 6, Bo Melton. 7, Amon-Ra St. Brown. 8, Darius Slayton. 9, George Pickens. 10, Wan'Dale Robinson. 11, Zay Flowers. And 12, Puka Nacua. So, Greg, we have 2 Packers receivers in here. We've got 2 Giants receivers in here. What are your thoughts on these top 12 performances and any of these other performances that might have stuck out to you?
I feel like I could just talk about the Giants. 2 Giants receivers being in the top 12 is, I'm flabbergasted. It's crazy. Like I never thought I'd see the day that this was happening. That's really all. I think they deserve my full attention for them to be able to make it in both. I know Darius Slay, we thought could have, slide in here or have a good day, especially with Tyrod having a good day and the Rams secondary being this bad. The fact that both of them got in, that is insane to me.
Yeah, definitely a great week here by by those Giants receivers. I've been a big Wan'Dale Robinson guy since he came into the league, and then naturally when I last week say that I'm basically done going after players like that, he reels me right back in with a big game. So love to see that. Zay Flowers had fantastic performance.
Mm.
The touchdown was great to see. Brandon Ayuk, you know how I feel about Ayuk. I don't have to say much, but love to see him cap out, cap out the week or the season, the season to most of us with another great week here. Your boy, man, George Pickens.
Crazy.
He has, you know how many yards George Pickens has on the season? Or where he ranks? Or both?
I would think he's close to 1,000 yards. He's probably like 800 or something.
1140.
That's the craziest 1,000-yard season ever. It's gotta be. Especially because he's had a game where he had negative yards. It's wild, yo. It's wild.
Yeah, I was looking at his box score the other day, or his stat lines, and basically he had 500-yard games. 5 games where he basically had 100 yards or more. And actually, if you think about it, in a 17-game season, if a player has 500 yards games and then finishes the remaining games, they average about 50 yards a game. That's an 1,100-yard season right there. So, it makes a lot more sense when you consider that he's had some big games, right? Like
huge games, yeah, huge games.
195 yards just the week before,
yeah.
Right. So, but it's interesting when you think of, like you said, it's been the wildest 1,000-yard season ever. And when you think about it, right, like players he has more receiving yards than at this point of the season. Michael Pittman, DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, right? Like he's got more yards than all these guys, and with how his year has gone, it like does not feel that way at all.
Yep, not at all. Yeah.
Probably also makes sense, Greg, that all your George Pickens teams have probably been eliminated, so you have no visibility into like what he's been doing.
Yep.
Also, shout out to my wide receiver start of the week and Rashee Rice, who did finish with a really good day, just didn't get in the end zone. 17.7 PPR points. Julio Jones turning the clock back.
Ooh.
Touchdown or not, wide receiver of the week. Who would have thought? And Elijah Moore stepped in, admirably, filling in for Amari Cooper, in somewhat of a revenge game here against the Jets. So, good performance by him. But naturally, it wasn't all good at the position this week. So we've got some Jags to discuss. And some guys let us down, man. A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Calvin Ridley. I mean, it's like habitual at this point. Any other guys you want to shout out, Greg, for having let us down this week?
No, I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, DeMar Douglas had a bad game too, I would say, compared to like what he's been doing all year. Yeah.
Moving on to the tight end position and the number one tight end of the week, and this is where the ultimate pain comes in, Greg. Which is why I was talking about pile kits before, and why I'm gonna probably move him. But I'm just talking crap. I'm not moving him. Or am I? Send me offers. You
I
never know.
mean, who'll take? I wonder who'll take him.
But Jon Johnson, man, the number one tight end on the week, 12 targets, 8 receptions, 90 receiving yards, and a touchdown against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is another week where it's like, oh, it's a good matchup for Jon Johnson. Should have seen this one coming. Now, where the pain comes in, because the 23 PPR points, Greg. Remember, I said I lost by 15.
Mm.
He outscored Kyle Pitts by 21.5.
Mm.
Yeah. Most definitely. That hurt.
That hurt. Yeah, that's the clear advantage. It's clear, like you could point to that as why you lost.
Oh yeah,
It's
no,
like,
100%.
yeah.
I point to that like this is, and it's not one of those things where it's like, oh my god, like Zach Wilson outscored Patrick Mahomes, like that's crazy. Like you were never gonna do that.
Yeah.
But this is something that could have been done, and I just didn't do it. So, but Greg, those are my thoughts on the performance by Jon Johnson. What are your thoughts?
Glad he's also finished the season kind of strong. Streaming tight end kind of all year, really hasn't been doing much. He had one sporadic week early in the season, but the last 3 weeks he's really come on the scene. Really, people that streamed him, he won a lot of people some matchups.
Yeah, definitely won a lot of people some matchups, except for me because I didn't start him. But love to see that performance by Jon Johnson. The tight end 2 on the week, Isaiah Likely, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 42 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns there. 18.2 PPR points on the day. At one point, this is the point. He had 2 catches for 2 touchdowns. So
yeah, man. I mean, I think we already know what's the touchdown, not tight end of the week. I feel like after looking at this stat line.
Hey, possible. Maybe it hasn't been determined yet. Who knows? We're still crunching the numbers in the back.
Right.
But it's possible.
Possible.
But yeah, I mean, great performance by Isaiah Likely. If you were the Mark Andrews manager and you picked up Isaiah Likely, you've been really satisfied with what he's been giving you. Even if you weren't the Mark Andrews manager, you just happened to pick up Isaiah Likely because you, I don't know, play fantasy football and you need a tight end, then most definitely he's helped you as well. Moving on to tight end 3 on the week. And I mean, this dude looked like he had it shored up after 2 drives.
Yo, it was crazy. This is a quarter's worth. This is what he did, I think, in the first quarter. It felt like
they definitely slowed him down significantly after the first half. But after those first 2 drives, he was up over 100 receiving yards. And we're talking about David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns, 8 targets, 6 receptions, 134 receiving yards, did lose a fumble, 17.4 PPR points on the day. The biggest travesty is that he did not score a touchdown because I really needed that for some things to happen. But
that long slant route when he one-handed it, that was the chance he could have got that. It was crazy, man. Athlete.
Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by David Njoku?
Yeah, absolutely just been balling, man, especially since the insertion of Joe Flacco, having really big-time games. I mean, you knew the talent was here. I think just the opportunities really need to come his way. Getting, close to 10 targets ever since, that Flacco's came in. He's been getting a good target number all season, but I feel like, he's doing a lot more with it right now.
Yeah, definitely love this performance here and love what he's been doing. And now he's kind of giving me hope to not share my Kyle Pitts shares because this is what year.
Oh,
this is year 7. Year 7. I mean, I'm gonna wait. I could wait. I've already waited 3 years.
You just gotta wait for that the coaching decision, man. If Arthur Smith is the coach, you know what to do.
But what if like Fields ends up in Atlanta? Then I feel like a little bit better, right?
I feel like that would just be some rushing yards that Fields is gonna eat up on the whole game, really.
Yeah, but Fields throws to like 2 people. It's like DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. So it'll be like Drake London and Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, or somewhere just Bijan it up.
Tyler Algier. I mean, we'll see what happens. But rounding out this top 12 here, Number 4, Dallas Goedert. At 5, we got Sam Laporta. At 6, we've got Johnny Munt. Shout out to Greg for making that call correctly, because I thought it would be Josh Oliver. Clearly, I know nothing. At 7, Dalton Kincaid. At 8, Tyler Higbee. 9, Evan Ingram. 10, Noah Fant. 11, Trey McBride. And 12, we got, tied with 11, Tucker Kraft. And I did not shout out, but Greg, your tight end start of the week was Dallas Goedert, who finished at 4. So kudos to you for getting that. Any of these tight end performances that stuck out to you in a meaningful way?
No, definitely. Definitely Johnny Munn was surprised that he did this well, but glad he was able to get involved. Dallas Goedert, also finished the season real strong. I'm glad he was able to come back from that injury and ball out. Solid. Trey McBride and Tucker Kraft, again, those two being relevant. Tucker Kraft especially. If you're a Luke Musgrave manager, you were happy for the upgrade, really. That's what you're happy about.
That's what I'm saying. You said Jordan Love earlier in the year lost the tight end. I'm like, are we sure about that?
He gained the tight end.
Are we sure about that? Because Tucker Kraft's been good, man. He's been
yeah.
They're gonna have some tough decisions to make next year.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
But it wasn't all good at the tight end position, because it never truly is. We got some Jags, man. The number 1 Jag of the week has to go to Travis Kelce.
Yeah. George Kittle probably second, but Travis Kelce's 1.
I mean, when you consider the matchup, this was Cincinnati.
3 straight single-digit weeks too for playoffs, man. That's not why he drafted in the first or second round. I mean, he had the injury the week 1 he was out, but yeah.
Telling you, man, that top of the tight end ranking is gonna look very different next year.
Oh yeah. Gonna look crazy different.
It'll look very different next year.
Yep, absolutely. With Hawk being out for more much of the season, beginning of the season probably. Mark Andrews, getting 1 year older. Kelce getting 1 year older. Yeah, it's gonna be different.
I honestly feel like the number 1 tight end by ADP is gonna either come down to Laporta or Trey McBride.
Yeah, I'll probably take Laporta, but yeah.
I feel like it's gonna come down to one of those two guys, because McBride's getting it done without touchdowns.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe people are like, when Marvin Harrison Jr. ends up there, whoever the Cardinals end up getting as a wide receiver, people are going to be like, oh well, Trey McBride's going to lose opportunities because of that. So I feel like naturally people will gravitate to Laporta, because they'll feel like the ceiling can only get better with another year. But we'll see. I mean, I'll probably end up with a ton of Laporta next year, if we're being honest.
Yeah, you want Laporta, man. That man, because he's different. He's different.
But yeah, man, George Kittle, like you mentioned, Jake Ferguson, your tight end stream of the week, and my tight end start of the week, Chigo Okonkwo, and then Dalton Schultz. So that's who kind of let us down there from a tight end perspective.
Yep.
Rounding out the tight end position, though, we got to talk about our touchdown or not tight end of the week. And the ballots are in. The numbers were crunched. It was really close. And by really close, really what we meant there was that, the team was trying to determine if Julio Jones technically counts as a tight end at this stage of his career. But because the formats don't allow you to put him as a tight end, it was ultimately vetoed. But our touchdown or not tight end of the week is Isaiah Likely. 3 targets, 2 receptions, 42 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns there. So yeah, shout out to Isaiah Likely. I
put my money in for my bet. Want to beat the books.
But definitely, love to see that from Likely, of course. And again, like I said last week with Juwan Johnson, it always helps, always makes it feel better when the touchdown or not tight end of the week is actually a tight end that was started.
Yep. They deserve it sometimes too. They deserve it.
Yeah, man. It's hard running all those routes, catching all these passes. It would just be really nice to just finish as a top 3 tight end and only catch 2 passes on the day. Like,
Yeah,
that's great. And it
yeah,
doesn't, it makes it a lot better when it's not like Eric Tomlinson that's doing it
yeah. Or Durham Smythe, or I don't
or
know.
Noah Gray or
Yeah. Daniel Bellinger, like these random guys. Like,
who are never going to be starting, like ever. So, um, moving on to some injuries, and so we can jump into waivers, man. Obviously we talked about McCaffrey left Sunday's game in week 17, will not play in week 18 due to a calf. Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence is hopeful to play in week 18, dealing with a shoulder injury. Philadelphia wide receiver Devontae Smith was seen on crutches following Sunday's loss to the Cardinals. He's dealing with an ankle injury. A note here on the Eagles, they are considering resting their players here in week 18. I'm curious to see.
disrespect to the Giants, yo.
I'm curious. Like the Eagles can still,
Yeah.
they can still win their division, right?
Technically, yes. I think they have the same record as Dallas, so they could win if Dallas loses. I believe so. They have the same record.
Yeah, I think. Let's see. Yeah, they clinched the NFC East with a win
The Dallas loss.
and a Dallas loss.
Yeah. Yep.
That's weird that they're considering that.
Hey man, they know who their opponent is. They're like, yep, pretty much.
Who's Dallas playing?
The Commanders, which should be a dub.
Oh, so what if they're kind of just operating under the assumption that Dallas isn't going to lose?
They could be disrespecting Commanders. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on if you are, if you have a Jalen Hurts, you have an AJ Brown, you have a DeAndre Swift, you have a Dallas Goedert, you have a Devontae Smith, right? Like something to
Well, he's out
definitely.
regardless, probably.
Yeah, he's probably. They said it's a mild ankle sprain, but who knows? Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield, he's dealing with sore ribs, but should be good to go. Tampa Bay clinches the NFC South with a win. They can still clinch a playoff berth with a tie, a Seattle loss, or a Green Bay loss or tie. So something to take note of there. Atlanta quarterback Taylor Heineke, he's dealing with an ankle injury, and his availability for week 18 is to be determined later in the week. I believe Arthur Smith said they would have more information on Friday. Atlanta clinches the NFC South with a win and a Tampa Bay loss. So it's closer than we think, which...
Can't the Saints technically clinch then as well?
The Saints still have a chance to clinch. They need a win and a Tampa Bay loss.
LA and Atlanta to lose, I guess.
But do Atlanta and Tampa Bay play each other?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think they play.
But they're ahead of the Falcons and win, so they could win it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, both teams can win the division. They just need Tampa Bay to lose.
Yeah.
But I think Tampa Bay is simple. I mean, they win, they get in, or they win, they clinch a division, but they can also clinch a playoff berth. With some help there. So, Jaden Reed left Sunday's game with a chest injury, did not return because of that chest injury. So, the Green Bay Packers, they need to win to get in. They obviously could get some help, but much easier to just win and get in there. So moving on to some waivers, Greg, week 18 is a bit of a guessing game.
It is.
So who are we looking at this week to help us potentially, to help us win a championship?
Yeah, we're definitely looking at like meaningful games, guys, teams that are either, not in it at all because they'll kind of continue to play the playbook that they've been playing, or are fighting for a playoff spot. They're going to go hard. Those teams that are kind of locked up their seeding in the division, it's I wouldn't be too, certain on them, have some backup plans ready. So for quarterback, Gardner Minshew versus Houston. He's 32% rostered. Houston's a great matchup, and Gardner Minshew's basically gotta win this game in a three-way tie with Houston and Jacksonville to kind of get into the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely have him ready. And Derek Carr against Atlanta, I think is also another possible matchup you can go to. But I think I definitely go Gardner Minshew first for sure. Target him.
Yeah, what was you said Derek Carr against Atlanta was the second name?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be it's nice on the surface.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he and the time that he's playing solid right now. He's playing solid.
So. Yeah. What are we looking at in terms of the running back position this week?
Yeah, Eli Mitchell's got to be first on this list. He's 13% rostered. We already know no CMC coming into the matchup. He's probably going to get the bulk of the carries on a team that's still very good. I'm sure with any of whoever they're going to play starters or not, I think they'll still be able to move the ball. So I have him in there. A guy that'll get a lot of touches. Jamal Williams, he's 18% rostered. He's probably going to be put out there with the Kamara injury, getting a bulk of the carries as well. Jaleel McLaughlin, he's 9% rostered. He'll probably be out there as a starter this week for week 18. And then Roshan Johnson, he's 24% rostered. Probably a deeper league ad. I know, Freeman has been a healthy scratch the last couple of weeks. He was last week as well. The week before was a personal matter. And Khalil Herbert, not sure what the plan is going to be with him and Roshan. So I think he'll be used as well.
Yeah, I like those. I do want to circle back to quarterback this week because I did realize we left out Tyrod Taylor. I don't know if that was intentional or if there.
Oh yeah, against the Eagles, that's true. Yep. Yeah, he should be a play.
Yeah, and especially if the Eagles are resting players, that also makes a ton of sense.
Yeah,
for sure. So, moving on to wide receiver, Greg, what do we got there?
Here we got definitely a lot more names, because there are wide receivers that also in general have a lot of names could pop up on a regular week, but now especially with starters being out, injuries, I think Julio Jones has got to be up there for sure. He's 1% rostered. AJ Brown will be out there maybe for at least the first half or some snaps, but Devontae Smith is hurt. Julio Jones is definitely going to be the number one receiver for I think a good period of time during that game. Darius Slayton and Wando Robinson, that pair, they get to go against the Eagles again. And you just mentioned it could be going against some backups, and even if not, they'll have a good matchup. And the Chargers receivers, Alec Harrison and Keelan Doss, these are guys that probably could get in some deep league. They're available in all leagues, especially with Bo Melton as well from the Packers. If Jaden Reed is hurt, if he's limited in any fashion, the Packers definitely need to win. They'll take any guys they can get, especially with Christian Watson also banged up as well. And then Demarcus Robinson, last couple of weeks he's 28% rostered, but they seem to find a room for a third receiver right now on the Rams, and he seems to be playing well, getting in the end zone and also being involved in the passing game.
Yeah, did you also throw out Bo Melton?
Bo Melton, yes, as well.
Okay,
yeah, he's out there. Yeah, he's a good name for sure.
Awesome. And then last but not least, our favorite position to hate, tight end.
Tight end, 3 names. Juwan Johnson, first on our list, 15% rostered. He's definitely been hot these last couple of weeks. He's got to be added. Gerald Everett, he's 46% rostered. He had 9 targets on Sunday. Still being targeted at a heavy clip. And then available pretty much everywhere. Johnny Munt, 0% rostered. Definitely a DP glad, but if desperate, didn't get these guys based off the uses that he got last week. I think he's worth the shot.
Yeah, definitely agree with those names there as well. Yeah, I mean, if you are playing in a 2-week playoff, as we often say, if you are the leader, right, by a wide margin, you don't need to chase so much, variance. Maybe play those safe floor players. If you are trailing by a wide margin, then you want to start chasing some of that variance, chasing some upside there. And if it's even, just keep playing it how you've been playing it, right? But, definitely good luck in that format. Like I said, we will be back here on Thursday, hopefully live, but at this point we can't really promise anything. But we will get on here at 3 o'clock, record we'll go through all of the games for Saturday and Sunday. Do we have a Monday game? I don't think there's Monday Night Football.
No, there's no Monday Night Football. Yeah.
So, yeah, just literally games to cover on Saturday and Sunday. And then after that, we'll be back here on Thursday to kind of recap, the week and a little bit of the year. And also, we'll be also serve as our accountability show, where we go through some of our misses as well as go through some of our hits as well too. So, um, we'll be looking forward to that. And then obviously after that, we'll divulge more about like what what the off season will look like here from a dynasty perspective and what this channel will look like for during that time. But definitely excited to share some of that with you guys. But until next time, y'all, we'll talk to y'all on Thursday. Have a good one. Good luck on waivers, and we'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Yeah.